Hi everyone, my name is Meaghan Burke, and I am currently in residence at the Foundry, working with the fabulous Sarah Katzoff on a large-scale piece of is it music, is it theater, who knows, called The Wandering Womb. It's a great pleasure to have been here this week, and I'm just going to play a few of my songs which relate to this project, as well as a couple of little things I'm exploring for the actual piece, and then some bonus items near the end. So we're going to start off with the song Hysteria, which is kind of the source for all of this. The root of hysteria is the same as the root for the uterus, right? Hysteroscopy, hysterectomy, all these things, right? And the idea of hysteria in kind of ancient Greek pseudoscience, as well as Victorian pseudoscience and pseudoscience leading through the ages, was that a woman or sometimes a man might be feeling a little bit funky because their womb had dislodged itself and kind of wandered about throughout their body. Which I found a really fascinating and disturbing, kind of humorous, but sometimes sort of apt metaphor. So I wrote a song about it, and now writing a weird opera, maybe, about it. So I'd like to play that for you this evening here at the beautiful Foundry with a lovely, tiny audience of big personalities. Don't get know best. Thank you so much. That Sound Hysteria is on my most recent album, A Few Concerns, which was made with my string quartet back in Brooklyn, the Rhythm Method. And that's on Bandcamp if you're interested, meaghanburke.bandcamp.com. The next little set that I'm going to play of two different pieces are some materials that we've been developing here at the Foundry this week. So super exciting, very much work in progress material, but this piece that we're developing, The Wandering Womb, is exploring kind of this idea of the womb as a potential alternate odyssey, and the sorts of islands that we land upon in our own internal journeying. So yeah, I guess that's all I'll say about these couple of moments. And I hope you'll enjoy. The one is You always like to wander, though. You wanted your own odyssey, some epic, formless saga. The Greeks weren't so far off, maybe, with their wandering moon. Where is she today? In your eardrum? Your kneecap? Does she need a ship? Or is she self-propelling? Don't leave me here. I never asked to be the straight guy, the one unfunny Marx brother. I can't sail today. I'm on my period. No, fuck that. This is my goddamn ship. And I'll wreck it if I want to.
Thanks, everybody. So that was some excerpts from The Wandering Womb. This is not an excerpt from The Wandering Womb, but it does feature my wandering guitar. This is actually a backpacker's guitar, in case you're curious. It is both less and more interesting than it looks. It's basically just a guitar, but you can take it with you when you're hiking, camping, or carrying a cello and a bunch of other stuff. So I like it very much. This is a song I wrote over the course of quarantine this year. It's kind of a little bit of self-help. And as I was discussing with No here at the Foundry the other night, I think COVID has had some womb-like qualities for us all. I think that journey of strange inward discovery is something that we can all relate to these days, and hopefully find some good things to come of it. So this one's called Settle/Struggle. I'm just going to make sure my guitar is still in tune. Let your mind dance its crazy dance, running naked in the empty streets. Try to be a tree today. Find the growth in stillness. Root down and wait. Think about love today. One you maybe had forgotten. Let it fill up your ribcage. Settle for something, settle on something, settle with something today. Settle for something, settle into something, settle with something today. going to return to the Cello Beast. This is a song which very much relates to the subject matter of the Wandering Womb. It's based on a passage from the Gospels about the apocalypse, and it describes how there will be famines and plagues and wars and all these other things that may or may not be familiar to us. And all of this is just the sort of preview to the birth pangs to come for Mother Earth. And I read this and thought just like how awful to be told this. And how awful to be this planet that is creating all these beautiful creatures that are quickly managing to destroy it. So this piece is called A Few Concerns Concerning the Second Coming. It's sort of the title track of the aforementioned album, A Few Concerns. And yeah, it's a bit of a journey. Hope you enjoy. And for that journey, I need a little.
tear it down. And why do you bear a child only to eat love? And why do you build a world only to burn it down? So, thank you so much for watching this performance. I'm going to do one more song with a very, very special guest, my dear friend Pete Wise. We have a band together called Forever House, and we're going to do a duo version of one of the songs. Normally it's a four-piece band, but this one works really nicely in his kind of acoustic vibes setting. Hi, Pete.
Hi. Been a while.
It has indeed. Wow, a show.
Exciting.
It's very exciting. Before we play this, I just want to give a shout out to all the wonderful people who've made this week possible. In particular, Amy Brentano, who has welcomed me into this beautiful space. I'm so excited to be here, and it's such an incredible luxury at any time, but in particular during this pandemic time, to be able to just really, really focus in on creating work from total scratch, and really getting into the big questions and the little questions of why we're doing this. It's been really amazing working with you and sharing this space. And No Bailey, is that right? For doing camera work here, helping out with all manner of things from reading texts to see how they sound, to taking notes, to taking beautiful photos. It's been really a pleasure to get to know you and work with you. And then, of course, Sarah Katzoff, my amazing collaborator in this sort of, we were talking about her being a kind of midwife or doula to this piece, which is being birthed out of our heads this week. So thank you very much for making this amazing residency happen. It's been a real pleasure, and we're looking forward to seeing what develops as we move further. So Pete and I are going to play this Forever House tune for you. It's called Saints. It's a nice lullaby to end the evening, wherever you are in your day. And feel free to sing along at the end if it feels good. know and why. You cry when I move my head away from the wind. You try to and you can breathe my lips, but you read my lips. Yes, my lips, but can you see my come down, 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 come down.
Hi, everyone. In continuation of our artists in residency this winter, we welcomed New York cellist, composer, and vocalist Meaghan Burke from New York City to come up and work on a project that she's been developing. And I'd like to introduce her today. Meaghan.
Hi.
And along with Meaghan in our Black Box Theater for the week that she was working on her piece was Sarah Katzoff, a longtime collaborator of mine and the Foundry, co-artistic director for Bizarre Productions Berkshire Fringe for 12 years, just got her MFA in directing from BU. She's an adjunct professor at MCLA and also UAlbany right now. We're lucky to have her back in the Berkshires. And she was here working and collaborating with Meaghan for the week. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, everyone.
So, Meaghan, while you were here, you were working on a project titled right now, The Wandering Womb. And I wonder if you could just speak to that a little bit, where it came from, where you are with it right now, and a little bit about how you're working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So The Wandering Womb comes from this sort of coming from originally the ancient Greek idea of hysteria, which was not only a part of sort of ancient Greek medicine, but also 19th and even early 20th century medicine, treating mostly women and sometimes also men for hysteria, which is kind of a catch-all disorder caused by the womb, or the uterus, basically dislodging itself inside the body and kind of wandering about into various corners in which it was not supposed to be. So I went on kind of a deep dive learning about this weird concept a few years ago and wrote a song called Hysteria about it, which you'll hear in the live stream that I did at the Foundry. But it also sort of prompted me to start thinking about, you know, what is this sort of vehicle that is described there? Of course, like, this is not a scientific thing. This is not a real thing. But I think we can all identify with this feeling that like something in us is moving around maybe in a way that's not exactly the way we want it to move around. And that this force we have inside us for creativity and destruction can be channeled in really beautiful ways, but can also inflict a lot of harm and just really confusing feelings on us. So as I was kind of developing that concept and some pieces surrounding that, I also, through personal experiences, started realizing how many of the very real stories of kind of wandering wombs are not really spoken of in a way that helps people to feel supported, and how deeply isolating those experiences can be, whether that's pregnancy, whether that's miscarriage, whether that's infertility, whether that's fibroids or endometriosis, all of these other things which are sort of, as you get into it, as you start to understand it, so shockingly kind of misunderstood and not understood and just not talked about. And it can sort of feel like suddenly you're inducted into this secret club of people that you knew that had this experience, but weren't around. You didn't know they were around when you were having it. And so having dealt with that personally, I feel like it's important to have a platform where some of those stories can be told, and to have this kind of weirdly playful idea of the wandering womb as a vehicle to explore that. So I've always been kind of fascinated by like these wandering and journey narratives, like the Odyssey, and I went through my Jack Kerouac phase at a certain time in my life. And those narratives have traditionally been very male-centered. So this idea of the womb as something that can really take us on a journey, whether or not we actually have a physical womb, because we all come from a physical womb. We all have this kind of life force inside us that can really, again, take us on a journey. So that's what I'm trying to do with this piece, and it has been super exciting to develop it with Sarah, and to sort of just play and explore these ideas at the Foundry just a few weeks ago.
So let's roll back for a second. Thank you for talking about your inspiration for the project. You're an accomplished musician. You have 3 albums out, and you're collaborating with a theater artist in that discipline. So you're crossing disciplines. So it seems like this piece wants to develop into something broader than a concert piece. So I wonder if the 2 of you could speak to how you came to collaborate together and what that looked like. What was the work that you were doing in the Black Box for that week that you were up here in February?
Oh yeah, so Meg and I have actually been admirers of each other, both personally and professionally, for I think it's been like 10 years, something like that. And we have often sort of crossed paths in music worlds, and have often sort of had this, I know I have, I won't speak for Matt, but sort of had this like artistic crush on Meg, and
Me too.
have been really interested, really interested in her work as a musician, the various spaces that she works, that work takes her, and also the inherent theatricality of music and some of the work that she does in that realm. And so we've sort of had this sort of conversation that's been percolating for a little while. And then actually just a few days before the pandemic lockdown, we had this incredible meeting gathering in New York where we sat and talked, and Meg sort of started to share some of the ideas for this specific project with me that I didn't know anything about it. It was the first time I was hearing about it, and I was so drawn into the story, both the personal story and the epic journey that she was interested in investigating. And so I think the conversation sort of started there. And then very shortly after, we were all sort of encapsulated in our own private spaces, isolated from each other. And I think the conversation also continued in this space that we've been in this sort of COVID world, of isolation and connection and disconnection. And so we kind of reopened a conversation just a couple of months ago has been ongoing, but it really sort of started to become clear that we were, Meg was sharing all this research that she was working on, and we were kind of talking about different potentials for how a piece like this could evolve. And it became really clear that we just needed to be in space together, that was really the next step, and trying to figure out how to navigate and do that during this time when we all sort of need to be isolated and separated, or need to be working together safely. It just seemed like such a perfect opportunity for us to be able to connect with the Foundry and to continue that next phase of our journey together in collaboration and partnership with that space. So we we sort of set, you know, in communication with the Foundry, we sort of set some time aside where we could both get tested and sort of quarantine, and then be in this space actually in real time together, which was just such a gift, and really sort of took that collaboration that had been very theoretical to this whole new level, being in space together.
Meaghan, music certainly has its own language and its own vocabulary, and developing and composing, and theater has sometimes another one, and then devising theater, which I know Katzoff is well versed in, has a whole nother language and way of working. How did the two of you find that crossover and that way of communicating so quickly in a period of like 5 or 6 days in the Black Box to, or did you find that a hurdle to come over?
One of the things that I was really kind of just very struck by in the residency that we had was just the amount of talking that we did, the amount of conversation about these very issues. And it just felt really strange, I think, for both of us, because we're sort of used to the situation of like, all right, you get into the space, you got to make the thing because the performance is happening. You know, even if it's just a workshop performance, it's this sort of product driven capitalist performing arts world that we all exist in. And so having this kind of luxury of time and space, both because of Amy's work at the Foundry, and also because of the pandemic, it allowed us to just kind of really get deep into like, what are the commonalities of our mediums? What are the differences? How do we approach time? Both from like the perspective of, you know, our arts exist in time, right? How does that time unfold for performers in the audience? But also like, how do we respect each other's time and other collaborators that we bring in? What's our approach to timing of rehearsals, and all of the sort of big metaphysical concepts of time and the small logistical things. So it was really just exciting for me to get to have those conversations and see sort of a cross into what feels a little bit like a parallel universe. Like we're engaging with so many of the same things, but with just a slightly different perspective, which is super inspiring.
We would love to see this piece come to some kind of fruition, not an end, because I'm sure it will always be developing, but something that we could be able to hold in our Black Box. In your wildest dreams, do you have a dream for where it could go? Not even where physically, but just where, if you had $1 zillion, then you could just explode this to the world. What do you see?
Well, when we were at the Foundry, I feel like we had some conversations about just sort of, what is this thing? You know, is it an opera? Is it a piece of music? Is it a piece of theater? And I do sort of like the idea of it as an opera that's really, you know, doesn't have that much to do with, you know, has little to do with operatic singing, and not necessarily with the traditional operatic structure or writing, but with sort of the idea that it's really like a Gesamtkunstwerk. It's like it's got everything in it. I would love that. And just being able to bring in a larger ensemble of musicians and performers and have sort of interwoven stories. I feel like Sarah and I kind of focused in on one story while we were at the Foundry, and we're able to kind of develop that. But as we did it, we found, oh, there's also this other story that we know could be, maybe it's a whole other piece, you know, maybe this is like a multi-evening affair. I don't know. But I'm really excited to sort of explore where that goes. We also talked about having kind of a public art component of it as well. So we were, exploring the beautiful sculpture park in West Stockbridge, just across from the Foundry, and thought, wouldn't it be great to have like an installation that's connected with this piece, and to sort of have different events and installations around the town, which I hope it will happen in West Stockbridge at some point, but could also be elsewhere. That people can kind of experience both before and after they experience the piece, that might just sort of invite them to think a little bit differently about the way they listen to the space that they're in and the way they speak in that space. And we've also talked about sort of having some other arms of the project that are more related to kind of outreach and workshops, and potentially partnering with groups that deal with bereavement for miscarriage, or various other kind of support groups and networks surrounding the issues that come up in this piece. So kind of having a commitment to the community that's not just like, oh, we're raising awareness through this art, but we're actually trying to do something. So those are some dreams.
Thank you.
Sarah, did I forget anything?
No, not at all. I just I'm so struck by this idea too, that being in residency at the Foundry, because it's the center of this community, really allows the space and the surrounding town to sort of be a partner in how we envision and create in relationship to that space. So I'm just like thinking back to some of the like walks that we took, and actually being inspired by like the environment that we're in and the specific place, like really thinking about obviously how this piece will ultimately translate and be able to like exist elsewhere, but how the groundedness of what we were sort of held inside of during our time there is really impacting this dreaming and visioning in such an exciting way.
Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, Meaghan, for recording such a beautiful concert in our black box. Thank you for joining us, Sarah, and for having the Foundry. Thanks both of you for coming the week in February to continue developing your piece. We are so honored that you filled our space with your beautiful music. We are also really excited to announce that you will be coming up with another band that you play with, Forever House, on July 2nd. So if you want to see this amazing artist live, you could get tickets at thefoundryws.com. They'll be going on sale shortly to come and see Forever House featuring Meaghan Burke at 7 p.m. on the Foundry Green. Thank you both. Thank you all for tuning in, and we're really looking forward to seeing what happens to this project.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking with you.